Hey, thank you for joining me on the Mighty Dragon today. I have with me, second time on the Mighty Dragon, Bryan McClure. And have I said that correctly, Bryan?
Yep, Bryan
I
McClure, that's
have.
me. Yeah.
You must have Scottish heritage.
I do. Yep.
Yes,
Yes,
the
I do.
McClures.
Yep. It's funny because my dad actually told me so many times that our last name was more Irish. And then I
Right.
actually, in college, I studied abroad and I researched my name when I was in Ireland studying abroad. And I found out it was more Scottish. And he's like, no. I'm like, yeah, it's McClure. That's where it comes from. Yep.
And have you found your tartan?
I don't actually know what it looks like.
Okay, if I find that, I'll get that sent over for you so you'll know
That would be
what it
awesome.
looks like.
Yeah. Thank you. That'd
um,
be cool.
no problem at all. Um, the last time we spoke, or we had a written interview actually in the Mighty Dragon, you just completed In Other Words. What have you been up to since then?
Yeah, well, the life of an actor includes many auditions. And so we've been fortunate. I mean, obviously, this year's been a weird one as far as just the whole industry. But in the last couple months or so, auditions have been picking back up. So very thankful for that, starting to see projects gearing back up again, and everybody's trying to, make a way to do it and do it safely. So that's been fun. Had gotten really close on a few of them, got some callbacks and some meetings with directors and stuff. And in addition to that, one thing that's been fun is Natasha Eska from In Other Words and I have been working on making a film together. So hopefully we're hoping to make that next year. It'd be another romantic comedy, which would be a lot of fun.
Wonderful. I loved In Other Words. I thought it was so good. It was so heartwarming, and I loved the scenery as well. It was just great. And True Andrews as well. I really loved how his character developed and what he was like at the end. It was such a lovely ending, and the
Thank
ending
you.
we all wanted when we were watching the film.
Yeah.
What was that experience like filming
Oh
there?
man, that was a dream role for me because the way it came, that whole project just came to me through an email. Like I almost deleted this email. The subject line of the email said lead role in a feature film. And I didn't recognize the email address, so I almost deleted it. And I'm like, wait a minute, this looks a little different. So I went ahead and clicked on it, and Christina, writer-producer Christina Nava, had reached out to me, and she was referred to me by someone I had worked with before, Sandra Avila. So I was like, wait a minute, okay, I know this person, tell me more. And I kept reading, and I was like, reached back out. I'm like, yeah, this sounds amazing. I'd love to know more about the project, know more about the script. And so as soon as they sent me the script, I was reading it, and I just fell in love there because the script was so well written. I found myself laughing out loud and just like, those touching moments, really feeling it. And when you can get that involved in the script, it's not just words on the page, you're already starting to see it. Then the script's been written well. And I was like, yeah, I would love to be a part of that. They had me put myself on tape so that they kind of like an audition. And then they just said they wanted to hire me. So then they
Right.
flew me because I reside in Atlanta, Georgia, and they're in Los Angeles. So they flew me out to Los Angeles, which is funny in and of itself because I spent 6 years there to then move down here for them to fly me back there to film it.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. The location, the main vineyard that we were at was up on the top of a mountain in Malibu that overlooked the ocean. We did
Okay.
11 days up there, and yeah, it was just so beautiful
Wow.
to be
It
able to
was
film
such
there.
a wonderful. I really loved the when the characters went over into Mexico, wasn't it? And it was just, oh, it was lovely. There's just a really lovely homely feel about the film, and I really loved the
Thank
dialogue
you.
as well. I thought that was very well written. I interviewed Christina and Patrick as well, so yeah, it was great. I
Love
loved
them.
it. So well done on that. And just actually as an actor, and as we're going into Halloween, I'd like to know, so how do you prepare for comedy and how do you prepare for horror as an actor?
I think for me, whether it's comedy or horror, you always want to get to the truth of who you are in that story, the truth of this individual's life that you're trying to tell. And then also just trying to get into how do I feel about the circumstances that are happening. Obviously, a horror film is much more grave circumstances, oftentimes, life-threatening, oftentimes circumstances, as opposed to, like in our film, for instance, we're dealing with love, and it's a little bit lighter, more playful, a lot of it, but there's real circumstances like me making a fool of myself on a date, these kinds of things. So it's just really trying to be as truthful as possible, but also knowing tones of film is important. The tone of a horror film is obviously very different from comedy. So I think that for me, that might come just from like being a student of film and television and watching a lot and loving it, and just like having it in me because I've observed so much comedy and so much of different kinds of films. So I'm like, oh, this is the tone that this one's in, and just trying to tap into that.
Yeah.
And then just also studying a lot of acting over the years. Yeah,
Okay.
Did I answer that question, or did I just ramble?
Yes. I think I've always wondered if a comedian is in a bad mood, but they've got to switch it on for the film when they arrive. That must be quite a difficult process.
Yeah, I think it definitely would be. I'd probably say that would be more challenging for me if I was if having troubles in my personal life maybe, and was just in a bad mood to try and be happier. That actually did happen to me years ago on a feature that I was working on where there was just some tension on set, but the scene was supposed to be a little bit more upbeat, and it showed that I wasn't in like as positive a mood as I could have been. Yeah, just last week I made a short horror film. My buddy Trey Bourgeois, he was a writer-director, and he starred in it as well. It was about 5 minutes. It was for a competition, but that one was a very different tone, and my life was at stake. So I spent a lot of time sitting off to the side, like keeping my mind and thoughts in a very, you could say, surrounding myself with negative thoughts, so to speak. Like what am I gonna lose in this circumstance? What is at stake? And so there's plenty of tears shed on that one. But I think it was easier for me to do that rather than like already be in a negative mood and try and be positive.
Oh, that's so interesting to hear how you work. As it's Halloween week, what will you be watching?
Yeah, just last weekend I watched Hocus Pocus. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
It's I just watched that growing up, and so it's always got a special place in my heart. That film. It's a little bit lighter, not so intense. And this last weekend I actually came across Scream 4. I don't know if you've seen Scream 4.
I haven't actually.
I was pleasantly surprised. It was because sequels tend to be hit or miss, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was actually pretty good. I had some great cast, and it was I was along for the ride. They had me. I was enjoying it.
Yeah, cool. So so Hocus Pocus will probably be it for Saturday, will it then? And potentially a bit more of a thriller later, do you think? Or
I wouldn't mind. One of my favorites is Halloween, the original Halloween. And so I wouldn't mind watching that one. I actually am friends with Final Destination creator Jeffrey Reddick.
Brilliant film. I love those films.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy too. And he just came out with a new film that he also directed. The title of it's slipping my name at the moment, but I would definitely like to watch that because he's a brilliant man, and I love supporting my friends as well.
Yeah, cool. Great. Okay. So as it is Halloween, I've picked out some horror films throughout the decades, and I'd like to know in each decade what your favorite is. So if we start in the 1960s, I've got Night of the Living Dead, I've got Rosemary's Baby, and I've got Psycho.
I'd have to say of those ones, Psycho would be my pick of those ones.
Yeah. Hitchcock pretty much was the horror master of that era, wasn't he?
Still one of the masters. All-time master.
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying yesterday to a lady I interviewed that the shower scene I read was originally going to be silent.
Oh,
you can't imagine that, can you? That's like insane. Without that famous noise, right? Okay, from the 1970s, which is my favorite era for horror films. Jaws, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Carrie, Halloween, Alien, The Omen, and The Exorcist.
I mean, those are a lot of great movies in there, but as I've already said, Halloween is just such a classic for me to watch around Halloween time. If I had to choose one of those, I mean, I'll have to go with that one.
Absolutely. Michael Myers is the greatest, isn't he? The mask cost $1, the William Shatner mask.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant, isn't it? Okay, 1980s. I've got Poltergeist, The Shining, The Thing, and The Fly.
I'm gonna go with The Shining. Yeah, that one's fun, and just classic Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. Have you been to the Stanley Hotel where Stephen King? You have, because I was meant to be going this year, and we've had to put the trip off.
That's the hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Was it creepy?
Yep. The one thing that I remember being kind of creepy is that we took some pictures, and when we look back on the pictures, there were some orbs in it. And people say that the orbs are supposedly like spirits or like something that kind of, so that we did have pictures that had in it.
Yeah. Oh, did you see the room where Stephen King stayed?
We saw the room, the number room that they filmed.
Yeah.
It's in, I can't think of the number off the top of my head, but we definitely that's the one we got a picture in front of.
Oh, and is that the one with the orbs?
Yep.
Oh my God, how creepy. Oh, I don't know. We're supposed to be going, but this trip will be next year, but I'll be super scared while I'm there. Oh,
that'll be fun.
Oh, we've got here for the 90s, we've got Scream, we've got the Blair Witch Project, we've got Candyman, and Silence of the Lambs.
Those are some good ones. I mean, Blair Witch Project and Scream were both kind of like they redefined the genre of horror. So those are, I mean, they're both awesome and unique in their own rights, but I think I really like Scream. I think that's just a classic one for me.
I think I really love that era of horror films as well. They seem to just be a little bit different from what had gone before, hadn't they? And I think for me, the Blair Witch Project was so clever. Took 8 days to shoot.
And, no kidding.
Yeah, 8 days to shoot. I've been doing a bit of research here. And it was made like 60 grand, and it made something like 248 million.
It's amazing.
I remember everyone going nuts at the time, just saying like, this is great, you've got to see it. And oh my God, it was super scary.
And of course they had that unique marketing campaign where you're not quite sure if it's actual footage or, I think they're the first ones to actually do that kind of thing.
Yeah. So it was really, really good. Okay, so the 2000s, and it's a bit, for me, the 2000s seems to have lost a bit of the horror film. It just seems to be pretty poor. The Mist, The Others, and 28 Days Later. What would you pick?
I mean, I remember watching 28 Days Later, and they had a unique take on how zombies were, the fact that they could actually move as fast as they could. That was pretty cool. I think that'd probably be my choice out of those ones.
I think that's a really good choice. And I think for me, when I watched the Resident Evil films, this is how I felt that they should have done Resident Evil, because I was a bit of a Resident Evil gamer, I guess. And I think 28 Days Later, I think 28 Days Later just represented the zombie genre a little bit better than Resident Evil, I found that a bit disappointing.
I would actually say, thinking about the movie 28 Days Later, it reminds me more of how I played the games, like Resident Evil games, than the actual Resident Evil movies.
Exactly. Yeah, this is what I think they should have done. So, but I thought it was really quite clever. Okay, so finally the 2010s. We've got quite a few here. Get Out, It Follows, The Conjuring, Hereditary, It, The Witch, You're Next, Kill List, and A Quiet Place.
Wow, there's a lot in there. Gosh, I think there were so many, I probably forgot some of the ones you said at the beginning. Okay. But I did really Quiet
Yeah.
Place. I mean, I did really like that. That was a unique
Yeah.
film. And I'm a big fan of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. So I mean, for that reason, I might choose that one because I love those guys. They're awesome
Right.
to me. Yeah.
Okay. I think when as I was looking through that list, I think I would pick it. I was a huge fan of the original series with Tim Curry as Pennywise, and I think he was absolutely terrifying. And I was insistent on not watching this film because I thought there's no way they could do it as good as Tim. It's just not going to have that edge. And also, is it the guy who played John Boy Walton as well? He was in the original, and I was so pleasantly surprised by the film, and I thought they did such a good job of it. So yeah.
Do you like it better than the original, or equal, or how does it rate against the original?
I would say it ranks up to about 80% of the original. So I'd give the original 100 for Tim Curry, I would say. But yeah, I thought it was really well done, and it wasn't just a complete copy. And he did Pennywise differently, and yeah, I thought that was the best for me in the last few years. So okay, thank you very much for your Halloween or horror film favourites. And my last question for you, as we're wrapping up the year, or in the last 3 months, what will you be doing? What will you be up to?
Yeah, kind of as I mentioned before, doing the audition process. I have a few of them that I'm supposed to tape in the next couple of days, and I love the holidays, so it's definitely something that, especially during this crazy year we've had, I'm looking forward to spending time with my family and loved ones. Looking forward to. I have a nephew and niece back home, so I'm looking forward to spending some time with them. Just really looking forward to some family time.
And will they be trick or treating this year, do you think?
I've been talking to my sister about that, and I don't think they actually are doing like a full-on trick or treating, but they're young enough to not really know what it's normally like. People bring bags of candy and stuff, so I think they're just basically going to get dressed up and go to both grandma's house.
Oh, well, I hope that you have a wonderful time, and I wanted to wish you all the very best for the rest of this year, and hopefully I'll catch up with you next year on the Mighty Dragon again as to see what you're doing next year. So thank you so much, Bryan, and speak to you soon. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
Bye. See you next time on the Mighty Dragon. Happy Halloween.